Moneyweb now. On the money.
This podcast is brought to you by Stanlib Asset Management. Invest in more certainty to navigate volatile market conditions. Chatting now with Hlelo Giyose. He is a CIO at First Avenue Investment Management. Hlelo, always appreciate the time. Your flying geese theory, you were recently in London. You were presenting on this. You're talking around sort of emerging market domestic champions when they solidify their base at home and then take the business overseas. Talk to me broadly about the concept here. In essence, what you're saying is they kind of get really good at what they do before they look to spread the wings and take on more global opportunities.
Good morning, Simon, and thank you for having me, by the way, as usual. You know, a really great example of a flying goose coming out of South Africa is OUTsurance.
Yeah.
Look at how OUTsurance disrupted the local market. It innovated, perhaps even copied from Progressive Corporation in the United States, a direct-to-customer non-life property casualty insurance model that's very low cost. It has no intermediaries, not heavily brokered, and it just consumes a local market. Santam realizes, oops, I am heavily brokered. I have to have a similar model. They start my way, but by that time, OUTsurance has dominated their local market so much with very high underwriting margins between 20 and 25%. And then they go to Australia. They take their competitive advantage. You have to take competitive advantage. You can only compete on your competitive advantage. They take it to Australia. They dominate there. Then they take it to, then now they're in Ireland. And they just keep taking this competitive advantage that allows them to dominate the profit pool in their industry all around the world. And this concept really came from an economist called Akamatsu back in 1939 when he described what Japanese companies were doing to first develop in textiles and then steel, then automobiles, and then chemicals, and then electronics. And then companies like Sony started to fly outside of Japan, went to Southeast Asia, went to newly industrialized economies like Singapore, like South Korea, and now Vietnam and so on. Before you know it, Toyota became the champion of this game. So today, Toyota makes more cars outside of Japan than it makes in Japan, and then it re-exports them into Japan. And when you look at how much Toyota has outperformed the car index in the MSCI all country, it's by country miles because it did that. Had it not done that, it would have been stuck in Japan, probably very low returns, probably very complacent, probably a very stodgy company with no future.
And I like your logic here around these sort of domestic champions because they really, and OUTsurance, I hadn't thought of it. I mean, we locally in South Africa, we all know OUTsurance. You might not use them, but you know them. You've heard the adverts, you know the business model, you understand how it works. There must be, when we think about emerging markets, we're so busy looking at demographics and urbanization and an expanding middle class. And all of those are true. Absolutely they are. But within that, it's those champions that we're looking for. And every emerging market is going to have them.
Right. And you know what the most important thing here is that these flying geese are not really interested in the demographic dividend around the world.
Yeah.
They're interested in the income dividend. So they first tend to go to countries that are really well aligned to their price strategy, right? And as you can see, most companies at one point or another end up in the United States because the United States has the highest income per capita consumer in the world. Look at South Africa breweries, right? It started off in South Africa where the volumes are great. But the per capita consumption and the per capita spend on alcohol is highest in the United States. Now look at how successful Anheuser-Busch is with the combination of South Africa breweries and Budweiser or Bud, right? And then the group now spans countries like, Brazil, Argentina, obviously the whole continent of Africa, some in Eastern Europe. And this is pursuing not just the numbers of people who drink, but the ability to spend and direct, and then compete for share of customer wallet.
And that's a point I hadn't thought of, is that selecting the country to which they go to is instructively important. Think again back to OUTsurance, Australia, now looking at Ireland. The new market is critical in terms of getting it right.
Well, I mean, think about why Shoprite, what a dominant business Shoprite is, by the way. But think about why Shoprite expanded so rapidly into the rest of the continent and then had to come back, had to unwind most of its expansions. I think Shoprite only now makes, about 5 to 8% out of the rest of the continent. This is the reason. It's because the logistical costs of taking a food product from here to Nigeria outweighed the benefits of being in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So there was definitely no problem about demographics in Nigeria. Plenty of people, but the cost of food, because of the logistical problems you had to overcome, were just too high. So they said, you know what? We can't be delivering food so far away. How about we do 60-60? So they learned from that logistical nightmare that actually there's the last mile within South Africa that is just as profitable. Well, actually, even more profitable, but with less headache. So you learn some lessons from a failure, and then you turn those lessons into such a devastating competitive tool. Now look at 60-60.
Yeah.
Who can compete with that, really? Who can compete with that?
The short answer is we're learning nobody. Bottles are struggling. I can't remember what Woolies even calls their one, and Spar. The short answer is, but I like that. They tried the distance, and then they realized it was at home. It was in that last mile.
Right. And let me tell you something else, too, Simon. The really beautiful thing about these flying geese is when we compare company by company across emerging markets. So you take Woolworths in South Africa, Shoprite in South Africa, compared to Walmart. If I were to tell you that over the past 20 to 30 years, actually, Shoprite outperforms Walmart on every metric.
Yeah.
Whether it's earnings growth, whether it's return on capital, whether it's total returns on the stock market, and you compare that, pound for pound. You compare Shoprite to Walmart. You compare OUTsurance to Progressive Core. You compare Standard Bank to Wells Fargo. You just keep doing that. You find that actually there are a few companies in South Africa and across the emerging markets that deserve a place in a global equity portfolio. You give up nothing but currency. Nothing but currency. So your only weakness is, what do I do with rand depreciation? But other than that, pound for pound, you have not compromised on quality at all.
Yeah, I've run the metrics. I mean, Shoprite is just the best grocer in the world. I mean, it absolutely is, and as you say, it
absolutely.
Is. Yeah, and it's easy. We leave it there. Hlelo Giyose, CIO, First Avenue Investment Management. Always appreciate the early morning insights. This podcast is brought to you by Stanlib Asset Management. Invest in more certainty to navigate volatile market conditions.